I'm going to show how I made some very basic landmass biomes using Voxel Plugin Pro in Unreal Engine 4. First off, you'll need an ocean plane and a sky. If you don't have it, you can grab the one from Unreal 4.26, that's what I did. They have a plane and a water material you can use. And you can always just use the default sky from Unreal, it's fine. This video is not about the sky or the water, it's about the terrain. We're gonna make some voxel terrain. So before we start, I am using the beta version of Voxel Plugin Pro, so if anything looks different, that's probably why. And here we go. So, you want to place the actor. You want to find your voxel world actor. This one. And you drag it into the world and drop it. I already have mine here. And it's at 0, 0, 0. It's kind of important to keep it at 0, at least for the z-axis. Because that's where the ocean level is. And it's a good point of reference. So then we want to go right click and go to voxel and create the voxel graph. And name it whatever you want to name it. I'm naming this one tutorial world. So to assign the tutorial world to the voxel world, we need to click to object under generator, and then we can just use the select one. Here we go, tutorial world. Otherwise you just search for it. And so we open up the tutorial world and we start by adding a basic noise. 2D parallel noise fractal is what we're gonna use, and we're also gonna need the X and the Y. Think of them like coordinates for the noise using world space. And then we want to go to 2D noise SDF. We're not going to plug it into Z, we're going to put it into noise. But we do need Z to put Z in. And then we just need to set the value. This sets the height value of the voxel. Or it sets the voxel value. Whatever, it's magic. And then, actually, before we do that, I also need to do a noise scale of 1000, otherwise we don't see anything, it will just be very, very flat. Also, the frequency, set it to about 0.001. And now, if we select your voxel world, in the viewport here, Control F5 to refresh. In fact, toggle. Yeah, because you can toggle on and off. Mine was off. And then you can hit Control F5 to refresh it whenever you need to see any changes. So this is a basic noise map. And now we're going to create a couple of curves. So let's make a folder, biomes, or call it whatever you want. I wouldn't say it's 100% biomes because this is mainly landmass and not foliage, so you'll see what I mean. The first one, CRV ocean, and the next one, CRV islands. I'm actually gonna just duplicate these now. CRV land and CRV mountains. I can't spell. Mountains. Here we go. So let's start with these very basic biomes for now. And here we have a curve. So the curve goes from -1 to +1 in both axes. This is the default value of a curve. This basically changes nothing. The noise comes in and it comes out without any changes. If we were to pull this one down to about -1 and this one up to 1, this would essentially invert the noise. The dark values goes and become bright, and the bright values goes and become dark. and you add control points by clicking middle mouse button. That might be a useful thing to know. I'm gonna have the ocean have a range from -1 to -0.5. So it will still be noisy, but it will be compressed and, you know, contained under the water surface. Because remember, 0 is ocean level, that's sea level. And we want the ocean floor to be below sea level. I'm also going to right click and hit auto. That gives us the little handles. We can actually move them like this if we want to, but I'm not going to do it for this one. I just want to show you have the different versions, you see them, and the keyboard shortcuts as well. So that's the ocean floor. Next we have islands, I believe. And the islands, they should probably also have this range, right? Actually, at this point, it might be good to show how you would tweak this, so you don't have to work blindly. Let's put it like this first. This is normal curve that does nothing, because we're going to put it in here. So look for float curve, ocean, and we pick CRV, ocean. And then we can just copy paste it, rename it to islands, find CRV islands, copy paste, land, CRV land, and then copy paste again, rename it to mountains, and find CRV mountains. Then we have all the curve nodes we need, and to preview the islands we can just plug it in like this. Select and hit refresh, and as you can see there's no difference because it's just a straight line from 0 or from -1 to +1. But if we change this, let's say we take the mid-range and bring it down like this, what happens? Well, we get fewer islands. We get one there, one really far away, and some over here. We pull this one up like this, we're gonna get more islands, and it's basically twice as many. They are still random, which they are supposed to be, because it's a randomly generated map, right? Now we can take this up a little bit, ocean floor, because between islands maybe we don't want the deepest of the deep. I mean, this is Titanic level, or this is Titanic level, whatever. Not Titanic level per se, but it's deep, it's very deep. We could just bring it to around here or here. In fact, I'm going to try here, and we can refresh it, and then you see we get a lot more islands, and bigger islands too. And this shape is not the best shape for islands really, so this is where we might want to add some extra points and turn them into automatic tangents. If we bend these like that and like that, we kind of get a shore, because remember, 0 is the ocean, it's the water line. So we can make a little shore. Let's turn off the snapping for a second. Make a little shoreline, a beach going down, and then it's just deep water. You can see that the shape now is different. You get a smoother beach here. the mountain, well, we might want to make it steeper, sharper. Add a point here, perhaps. What I do here is I add a point and I press 1 on the keyboard to make it an automatic tangent. And big difference. Let's pull this one back a little bit. This one too. Let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. They're still a bit big, so we can move these further away from each other. It will basically increase the distance between each island by a random amount. So there we go. Also, I think we might want to increase the number of fractal octaves, like that. I think that would be too smooth to me. Yeah, now we get a little bit more randomness going on. Yeah. Probably gonna have it over here. And this one over there. Maybe add some longer, some shallowness before it actually gets deeper. That's enough for the islands, I believe. We have basic islands. Next up is land. And what does land look like? What I like to do with land is I like to make 3 points to start and find an elevation, and not too high because we don't want them to be mountains, right? If they were up here, we will get mountains, and if they were like here, they would still be pretty high hills or something. So let's take somewhere in between. This would be 0.2, 0.3, 0.25. Let's do 0.25. And remember, 0 is ocean level, or water level, the water line. If I pull this under, we're gonna get a little bit of water right there. So let's just look at it right now. Oops, I haven't plugged it in. Hang on. Right here, you have to plug it in, curve land into the noise. That way we can preview it like this. And here we go. What this does is this pulls up all the dark values, goes up and becomes positive. They were negative before and now they're positive. And you only push down the positive values a little bit, put them at a reasonable level. So now we can auto, and oh yeah, auto this one too. We can create a couple of points here. Remove the snapping, and we can take these further in like this. And they also need to have some type of tangents, tangent handles, whatever they're called. And this should give us a little bit of a sandbank next to the rivers. And they look more like rivers now. And I think the height is still a little bit too much for land. You see, they get pretty tall. We can bring this down even more. So maybe it's, what is this, 0.96? If we turn snapping on, we can get to 0.1. And that's about 10% of the elevation. It's still pretty big, in my opinion. It's like hills. We can flatten it even more. Yeah, that's right. We set the scale to 1000, so 0 is obviously 0, but 1 is 1000, so this would be about 50. Yeah, that's better. So now we have a bit of land with rivers or something resembling rivers. We can try to make the rivers a little bit tighter without the snapping these. There we go. And set it a little bit more closer together. We can use one of these actually to see where the center is, and it's right there. The combined, like the there, yeah, there we go. Look at it now. Yeah, it's nice. Some nice rivers, sandbanks, everything you could ask for, and it's a very deep river. Let's change that. Holy crap, that's deep. Nobody wants to swim in a deep river like that. One thing that is actually quite nice is if you have this selected and you press Ctrl W, this handle turns into a more flexible one that you can scale and do fun things with. I believe it's this toggle weighted tangents. Ctrl W. Yeah, so that's weighted tangents. There you go. You can put weight to them, so you can get really steep things going on, or really a lot sharper, but without actually making it super sharp. Let's just make it a little bit round bottom. So here we go. That's nice. Who wouldn't want to swim in this? Let's take it up a little bit, like that. Save it and update. There we go. So we have rivers. The next thing would be the mountains, and the mountains is very similar. Now, normally you could just make the mountains like this and make a little curve like that, so you get this kind of profile taller in the center of all the mountains. But I am gonna put this one up here at a point in the middle and pull it down to about 0.125 above sea level. Turn the outer tangents on, and then we just do something like that. What's that gonna look like? Well, of course you have to plug it in. I always forget. But it's easy to do, so there we go, and now we can see it. And this gave us some mountains, but not all of them are super tall, and that's because we curved them like this. So if they were to be just linear and straight like that, we would pretty much give the raw noise. Which could be what we actually want for this, for now. Let's keep it simple and leave it at this. What we get is the valleys right here, or the canyons. It's because we put the kink here in the middle. It's the same like with the rivers. So when this blends with the land biome, these canyons will transform into rivers. Looks pretty neat when you see it coming out like that. Looks more natural in a way. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'll show you. Next thing we want is another noise actually. And this time I'll probably use cubic noise fractal. Let's grab X and Y. And we want to put this at a really low frequency, like 0.0003, because this is going to be the landmass, what is actually shaping the world, the continents, or what have you. And this is the one we're going to divide up using the height splitter. And we have 4 biomes now that we want to use. So we just need 3 layers, or 3 splits. It's going to be 4 layers. The first height tells us where the layer 1 is supposed to be. Layer 0 is always the stuff below height 0. So height 0 is 1, height 1 is 2, and height 2 is 3. So we can put layer 0 to create a local variable and call it ocean. We create a local variable and call it islands. We create a local variable and call it land. Where is the land? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Land. And then we create a local variable and call it mountains. Shift W. Yeah, let's not do that. Shift A. That's fine. Cool. Now we want to blend these together. We have the masks. Actually, we kind of have the masks. This noise puts out a value between -1 and +1, and by default the height selected is 0, 10 and 20. 10 and 20 does not exist in the range -1 to +1. So what I usually do is I just multiply this by about 100, because it's just easier to think in terms of percentage that way. So how many percent up in elevation should be what exactly? We can put the islands at maybe -10, put land at +10, and put the mountains at 45 or 40. We can put the fall off to 0 for now, because we can more easily see what's going on that way. And then we use a lerp, and we want to use ocean as the mask. Copy the lerp, bring in the islands. These are the local variables that we just created. Paste the lerp and bring in the land local variable, and then bring in mountains. I should be able to spell for that. Yeah, there you go. Paste in the lerp and put it in like that. So we want to put the ocean in B, because B is the selected value. It's like a like a lerp, 0 to 1, but in this case it's 0 to 1. Leave A at 0, and then pull it to A. Pull this one to B, and pull the lerp to A. Take the land to B, pull the lerp to A, take the mountains to B, and then put it into the noise. So this gives us a bunch of continents. But as you can see, what's going on here is it gets a bit cut off, very cut off. And that's because of the fall off in the height splitter. Even the mountains are cut off, just like that. And that's not really what we're after, so we need to use some fall off in the height splitter. So let's, for example, have the islands, give them a fall of 3, maybe the land can have a fall of 10, and the mountains a fall of 10. Actually, yeah, the land has a follow of 5. And we can see what happens. And there we go. So now the mountains are in there. And maybe we want to spread the mountains a little bit more. Maybe we want mountains to be more common in our lands. We just pull down the height on where they are appearing. So lowering the height in the height splitter will give us more mountains. We could lower the amount of land a little bit. Take it to 15. Remember, the islands go from -10 and they have a follow of 3, so they get a lot more area to work with, which is fine if you want a lot of small islands everywhere. Like we get islands outside of the coast because of it. If we didn't have the islands biome, we wouldn't get these small islands everywhere. And some places don't get mountains at all because they are just not big enough. And it's all randomly generated. You can find this one, see what it looks like. See, it's because I'm flying around so fast that it's going to take some time to load in. And also it's not compiled to C++ yet, so it's that. But yeah, that's the basic, and then you can tweak it, tweak the curves, tweak the heights and fall-offs to your heart's content until you find the land of your dreams, or whatever it is you're looking for. You can get some pretty good results. Also, you can apply erosion, but since the curves don't output any derivatives, it will have to be kind of yeah, you're gonna have to use the derivatives from the Berlin fractal noise. So you activate it here, and then you can use these. And then what I do is I apply the erosion individually for each of these biomes before we blend them. So maybe I want more erosion on the mountains. I can actually increase that separately from the other areas, and then just see the result there. And the whole map will just basically use 2 noises and 1 erosion node, which would be pretty darn cheap. So you have more space to add more variation, noises for mixing different foliage, or adding more curves. Maybe if you want different variations of the same biome, you can have like sub biomes, blending between 2 or 3 different lands, for example, using some other cheap noise. There's a lot of things you can do with this, but this is the basic start, the gist of it. So that's it. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. All right.